Let's talk South Carolina recruiting. We don't do that enough here on the Inside Scoop. Today, I got to find out if the Gamecocks are really in it for number 1 overall Dylan Stewart. We're also on the brink of an insanely important summer for Shane Beamer and his recruiting staff. So let's bring on South Carolina insider Wes Mitchell. Wes, last year, South Carolina finished 16th, but they finished strong by landing 5-star athlete Nicholas Harbor on signing day, a big day for the Gamecocks. This year, though, they've carried that momentum over from 23 into the 2024 cycle. South Carolina currently has the number 6 ranked class in America. The momentum is real. What do you credit South Carolina's recruiting success to?
I think, Josh, is a combination of the way they finished last year, obviously beating Tennessee, beating Clemson. We've had a lot of prospects tell us that went a long way towards kind of shaping their view of South Carolina. But then I also just look at Shane Beamer and the staff having some time to actually build those long-standing relationships. You look at kind of the core of this class. Yeah, there's some out-of-state guys in here, but the Cam Pringles of the world, Josiah Thompson, Kelvin Hunter, all in-state, highly recruited guys. Add Mazio Bennett in there. These are guys that South Carolina's been recruiting for 2, almost 3 years in some cases. So I think when Beamer took over, they already kind of circled this 2024 class, especially in-state, and knew it could be important for them. Right now they're sitting on 5 of 5 of the guys in-state that they've targeted, and it's really allowed them to kind of build a core for this class that has helped them to kind of maintain that top 10 ranking so far.
Yeah, 2 in-state monsters that they've landed are Josiah Thompson and Cam Pringle. How important was it to get them both on the commit list before summer even began?
Yeah, I think you look at, first of all, offensive tackles, so rare, so valuable, and you have 2 of the top 5 guys in the country who happen to be in-state for South Carolina. This is probably the best duo I've ever seen in the state of South Carolina at the same time, since I've been covering this. So South Carolina really made it a priority to get those guys on campus so many times, not just individually, but together. And you saw those guys hanging out with each other, hanging out with Mazio Bennett, hanging out with Dante Reno, who's their quarterback commit for 2024. So those relationships have just carried over. And, you look at what they've done on the offensive line going back to the 2023 cycle as well, and then pairing that with some of the guys they've got committed for 2024. It's really been phenomenal, just the job they've done of getting guys who are top priorities at that position.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about Dylan Stewart here in a minute, but first, South Carolina fans, do me a favor, subscribe to the On3 YouTube page. It seems like we're going to be talking South Carolina a lot this summer. But before we get to Dylan Stewart, I want to talk about South Carolina's DB class. You currently got 2 committed in Kelvin Hunter and Braden Lee. What would Torian Gray's ideal secondary class look like this cycle?
Yeah, they're off to a good start there. I look at a guy who just set up his official visit to South Carolina this past week, or at least went public with those plans, and Jalewis Solomon. He's a 4-star guy. Like South Carolina's battling out some of the Florida teams for him. I think Florida State's heavily involved. Florida's heavily involved. Listed as an athlete on the On3 network, but I think probably profiles as a defensive back for South Carolina. That would be a huge get for them. There's an emerging kid, Chasen Johnson, who's out of Florida as well. Seminole High School. I think Carolina sort of quietly got in on him recently, and he just set an official visit as well. So they're in on a bunch of guys. I would look for several other guys they're kind of in the process of getting some official visits set up with some other guys that I think they'll probably be in the game with as well. But certainly those 2 guys we just talked about, if you talked about maybe pairing that with the guys who are already committed, that would be a really good start to this class for Torian Gray.
Yeah, and we teased it up front that there are some important official visits ahead in the month of June. But looking at the visit schedule, the weekend of June 23rd really pops out to me because 5-star edge Dylan Stewart, On3's number 1 overall recruit in the country, will be in town. How critical is this weekend with South Carolina in their chances of landing Dylan Stewart?
Yeah, well, so they have almost all of their committed guys are coming in that weekend as well. This is something we see teams do all the time. South Carolina has certainly taken this approach as well, where you get a couple of your highly regarded, high priority targets in with the guys who are already committed. And that's what they're trying to do here with Dylan Stewart. Stewart's been on campus already. I think we had the last count at 7 times at South Carolina. So those long-standing relationships are there as well. it kind of reminds you a little bit of the Nicholas Harbor recruitment at this stage last year, where South Carolina was battling with sort of some bigger name programs, but they just hung in there. I think they quietly liked their position this time last year with Harbor. I think they quietly liked their position this time this year. They're playing the long game. They're kind of running this marathon, and they're kind of working their plan here. I think they feel good about where they're at. It's going to be tough. You start talking about, the Ohio States, the Georgias of the world, the Alabamas. I mean, it's a big boy recruiting battle, but under Shane Beamer in the last year or so, South Carolina has found themselves right in the middle of these.
Now, he's kind of alluded recently in an update with Chad Simmons that Dylan Stewart might be ready to make a decision before the summer ends, before his senior year. So what does South Carolina need to do in order to, finish strong? Because it could be 2.5 months away from a decision date.
Yeah, I think you see that more and more from guys wanting to just knock out these June officials and then get the process done before their senior year begins. And, I think South Carolina would be okay with that. Like I said, he's been on campus several times, and, possibly getting the last official visit, if it sets up that way, or one of his last visits leading into a decision, will work out pretty well for them. And again, they've pushed this whole idea, obviously, of family and relationships with their current class, and having him on campus with all those other 2024 guys who are already just really firmly committed and honestly have put in more effort and energy to recruiting other guys around them to join them than probably any class I've seen in South Carolina history. That's probably been a little bit of their secret sauce for this group, is just other guys recruiting other guys. I think that would actually set up pretty well for Carolina before you just extend this thing out into the regular season.
All right, I was going to come on here and ask about a top 10 finish for South Carolina, but forget a top 10 finish. South Carolina currently sitting at 6, and you guys had an article on Gamecock Central mentioning that in the internet era, South Carolina's best finish is number 7. So my question to you, Wes, is forget the top 10. Can South Carolina finish inside the top 5 in 2024?
Yeah, I think if you look at the numbers, obviously, as you know, these other schools are going to be adding prospects as well. So to stay in that top 5, top 6, I think you have to have a Dylan Stewart in this class. Yeah. You have to have a Daniel Hill, who is a high 4-star athlete thereafter. Jonathan Paylor, one of their top recruits at wide receiver. He's a 4-star guy. So, to get that top 5, I think they're going to have to hit on just about every single one of these final targets they have. But I don't know if I can count them out either. They're on such a roll right now. I think certainly they're headed towards a top 10 class. Frankly, Dylan Stewart may be the difference because we know how much value a 5-star guy carries in the numbers. That may be the difference in being like a 7, 8, 9 versus pushing potentially at that 5 spot, because they were top 5 when Josiah Thompson committed, and then I think Michigan bumped them out to the 6. So those two have kind of been going back and forth for that 5 and 6 spot here lately.
Yeah, it's an absolute arms race for top talent. But at this point, I'm not counting out Shane Beamer. Wes, we'll have you back on later this summer. It's going to be an exciting summer for South Carolina. Thanks for stopping by the Inside Scoop.
Thanks, Josh. Have a good one, man.
Thank you for watching. Make sure you smash that subscribe button for me. And remember to check out all the videos on the On3 YouTube page.